right, I'll start with our land acknowledgement. I'm looking forward to introducing our fabulous speakers for this morning. So just to start with our land acknowledgement, we would like to acknowledge the Ramaytush Ohlone people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders past, present, and future who call this place, the land that UCSF sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue the tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ramaytush Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. As residents of the Bay Area, we can deepen our commitment to this process by contributing financially in the spirit of reparations and land rematriation. For residents of San Francisco and the Peninsula, you can contribute via the links that will be provided by Zoom, and there's also one for East Bay residents. For more information on how to interrogate your relationship with Indigenous peoples, visit the Native Governance Center's website. Okay, and now for an introduction to today's fabulous speakers. So first, Dr. Nikia Grayson, DNP, MPH, MA, CNM, FNPC, FACNM. I had to. Is a dedicated family nurse, midwife, anthropologist, and advocate for reproductive justice. As the Chief Clinical Officer at Choices Center for Reproductive Health in Memphis, Tennessee, she works to diversify midwifery and expand access to high-quality, patient-centered reproductive health care. With a deep commitment to health equity, Dr. Grayson ensures that individuals, particularly those from marginalized communities, receive comprehensive care they need to make informed decisions about their health and well-being. Throughout her career, Dr. Grayson has focused on increasing access to full-spectrum reproductive health care by training and mentoring the next generation of midwives and advanced practice providers. She is committed to equipping clinicians with the knowledge, needs, and skills to practice to their full scope, ensuring healthcare providers can meet the needs of their community effectively. Under her leadership, Choices has grown into a thriving midwifery practice and established the first Black midwifery fellowship program in the country, creating pathways for more diverse providers to enter the field. In addition to her clinical leadership, Dr. Grayson is an associate clinical professor at UCSF, where she is working to advance midwifery education and develop training programs that emphasize reproductive justice, culturally responsive care, and community-centered healthcare models. Her work bridges clinical practice, education, and advocacy, ensuring that reproductive healthcare is accessible, equitable, and rooted in justice. Dr. Grayson continues to lead efforts to expand provider training, strengthen midwifery education, and push for systematic changes that improve reproductive health outcomes nationwide. So welcome, Dr. Grayson, and I'll also introduce our second Grand Round speaker for today, Asmara Gebre, soon to be Dr. Asmara Gebre, who is a Black and Latinx woman, is deeply committed to reproductive health equity. She's a first-generation American with an Eritrean father and Mexican mother. Her personal journey has fueled her dedication to change. She has raised an 18-year-old son pursuing a nursing career who has been integral to her growth as a human and as a midwife. Asmara has lived in San Francisco for 13 years and is an associate clinical professor in the OBGYN department at the School of Medicine, with a clinical practice as a certified nurse midwife at San Francisco General Hospital. Asmara is the founder and co-director of Black Centering in San Francisco, now providing high-quality group prenatal care, home visits, family group care, community building activities, and resources for Black families. Asmara is the founder and director of the Black Midwifery Fellowship in California, an innovative fellowship focused on abortion training. Built in partnership with UCSF and Reproductive Health Service Corps, Black Midwifery Fellowship offers postgraduate certified nurse midwives comprehensive reproductive health training, emphasizing the historical significance of Black midwifery and Black feminist theory, while addressing the post-abortion care needs of marginalized families. So welcome, Asmara and Nikia.
Thanks for having us. I'm so happy to be here with you all and happy to be here with Asmara, who I'm inspired by every day. So she's going to talk about our objectives.
Our first objective is to explore the history of abortion care in the United States in relationship to Black midwifery, understand how Black midwives have shaped and contributed to reproductive care, including abortion through history, recognize the value of midwifery-led abortion care, highlighting the benefits of midwifery-led approaches to abortion care, focusing on the unique perspectives and community support and cultural humility that we bring. We're going to discuss how physicians can advocate for midwifery training in abortion care, identify actionable steps for physicians, and promote midwifery-led training in abortion care to strengthen the movement and increase access.
Okay, I get to talk a little bit about the clinic that I work at, which I absolutely love. I've been there since 2017, and I will say that my entry into midwifery was working at Choices. I became a midwife in 2017 and started our midwifery practice there. Choices celebrated 50 years in 2024, which was a great milestone for us. Choices started as a first trimester abortion clinic and has been in the community, like I said, for 50 years. We have opened a second clinic. So these little icons represent our two clinics, one in Memphis, Tennessee, and our second we opened in Carbondale, Illinois in October of 2022 in response to the Dobbs decision. So at Choices, our model of care is rooted in reproductive justice. We believe that the sexual and reproductive health care is a fundamental human right. We provide patient-centered, comprehensive care, ensuring that our services align with the needs of our community. So this is how we see care, and this is the care that we provide in our communities. We see it all as a continuum of care. And so this is our model that we have created over the last 51 years now.
Okay, can I pause you for a second and you can share with us how birth care services came to be?
Oh, okay.
How do Choices?
Yeah, so like I said, in Tennessee, we recognized that we were going to lose access to abortion care in the South. Legislators had continuously challenged abortion, creating trap laws, targeted regulations of abortion providers. And so we realized that we needed to diversify our services to allow us to stay in the community. And one of the things that we decided to do was to add midwifery care. In Memphis, there was not a huge midwifery presence. So when we decided to do this and I added the midwifery services, we dreamed of a comprehensive reproductive healthcare clinic that would care for people along their reproductive lifespan, where they can get abortion care, they can get family planning, they can get GYN care, as well as prenatal care and birth services. And so we have built the first birth center in Memphis, Tennessee, and the first clinic, nonprofit clinic that was doing abortion and birth in both places. So we opened our new building in 2020 after we added these midwifery services, which was a really heavy lift. I was the only midwife for several years, and we've grown now to 6 midwives in our practice. So yeah, it's been pretty impressive. We are still the only standalone midwifery-led practice in Tennessee. And like I said, in 2020, we were like, hey, we accomplished this great thing of building this building and doing this thing where we brought these 2 models of care together. And then the Dobbs case was taken up. And we were like, okay, we don't have time to celebrate because we recognized that we would lose access to abortion care in all of the southern states. So we set out to build a new clinic in Carbondale, Illinois, which is in the southern part of Illinois. Illinois, of course, is a blue state that has protection for reproductive freedom but let's be clear, Chicago is blue. Illinois is not blue. And Chicago really carries the state. So we are in the southern part of Illinois, which is about 3 hours from our Memphis clinic. And we coordinate care for patients who still need abortion care to go to our clinic in Carbondale. So we know that the reproductive, healthcare landscape has changed dramatically in the recent years. And, pregnant people in states with restrictive abortion laws are over 3 times more likely to really die from pregnancy or childbirth. And so this map shows where our 2 clinics are and really where the majority of the people that we are caring for are coming from to access care in both of our clinics. So they come for up to 3 hours away to access our midwifery care in our birth center and our comprehensive center in Memphis. And they come, you can see the surrounding states where they come to access abortion care. And so these are the services that we provide in our 2 clinics, in our Memphis clinic, in our Carbondale clinic. And so when we opened the Carbondale clinic, it was, like I said, a very quick response to what was happening in terms of the Dobbs case. And I don't even know how we opened it as quickly as we did. Honestly, we had a lot of help from the governor's office, who was really assisting us and was really on board with us opening abortion clinic in Carbondale, Illinois. And so in our Carbondale clinic right now, we provide, of course, medication and procedural abortion care, gender affirming care. Part of the reason we provide gender affirming care there is because of the legislation that has prohibited us from providing it for certain patients in Tennessee. So we send a lot of our Tennessee patients who are minors and need gender affirming care to our Carbondale clinic. And so to say that we are really answering the needs of our community is an understatement. So like I said earlier, pregnant people in states with restrictive abortion laws are over 3 times more likely to die during pregnancy or childbirth, and 7 in 10 Black women who live in these states that have bans or restrictions, restricted health care, are at risk. I want to say that Tennessee has a total abortion ban, meaning that there are no exceptions. And this is really creating a lot of harm in our communities. So independent clinics, of course, closed at alarming rates following the Dobbs decision. And so for us, it was really important for us to not only diversify our services, but to look to midwifery as an answer to address the needs of our communities. What we saw was many physicians leaving the South, and many of the residents programs in the South are not attracting residents because of these restrictions. So for us, it was, what can we do to really address a lot of the things that we were seeing? And so midwifery to us was the answer. Like I said, we have seen attacks on gender affirming care that have rapidly increased. And despite these challenges, Choices has remained committed to providing care. And so in 2023 alone, we served 5,000 patients from over 28 states. And we are still dedicated to expanding access and looking to expand our midwifery practice in Carbondale. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of midwifery in the United States and why midwifery is important, and why Choices has chosen to pivot to become a midwifery-led practice. So we know that midwives really attended nearly all the births in early American history, and we're going to talk about Black midwifery. And we know that African midwives were brought to the United States through enslavement and provided care for both Black and white families. But after the abolishment of slavery, Black midwives, often called grand midwives, continued to serve their communities, passing down generational knowledge. Indigenous and immigrant communities also relied on midwives who practiced birth traditions rooted in their own cultures. And so midwifery has been around for a long time. But however, midwifery's role in healthcare was systematically attacked. Physicians launched a political and social campaign to discredit midwives, labeling them as unclean and uneducated. And this deeply harmed marginalized communities, stripping them of culturally competent community-based care. And this shift to hospital-based obstetrics created a system where only the wealthy had access to reproductive health care. You want to do this? Or you want me to continue?
Please do.
Okay, so this historical shift continues to really impact us today, right? Fewer than 7% of midwives in the United States are Black, creating major barriers for Black communities to access culturally competent care. Black people are 2-3 times more likely to die within a year of childbirth compared to their white counterparts. And abortion is part of midwifery's scope of practice, yet access to abortion training and midwifery education is extremely limited. And so midwives, presently, we must seek training independently, making it more difficult to integrate abortion care into midwifery practice. I'm talking a whole lot here, Asmara. So I'll talk a little bit about why we have why we created this Black Midwifery Fellowship Program at Choices, and what we do. And so this is a picture of one of our patients in our room, but also a picture of one of our midwives talking to patients as well. And this actually midwife graduated from UCSF. So we're actively working to really address the inequities that we've been seeing in our community. We provide values-driven, comprehensive, patient-centered care. Thank you. We lead with an innovative model of reproductive care and maternal health care. We focus on serving the communities most impacted by abortion restrictions and maternal health disparities. And we really are committed to strengthening the reproductive and maternal health workforce. And this is my amazing team. I will say that the young lady, the second from your right, is our fellow from last year, and we ended up hiring her and keeping her. And the young lady on the far left, on your left, on the far left, is our present midwifery fellow. And we recruit from all over the country. So, like I said, when I started at Choices, we did not have any, we only had maybe 3 or 4 nurse midwives in our community, and none of them identified as Black. And so for us to build this team, I recruited Talita Asagara from California, from UCSF. We have another Nikia. Nikia is next to her. And she came from Emory, and she's from St. Louis. Then there's Kamitra King. She is actually from Memphis. And she was inspired by seeing me practice on the floor at a hospital. And so she decided to become a midwife, and she joined our team. Then, of course, there's myself. Next to me is Alexis Dunn-Amore. She's Dr. Alexis Dunn-Amore. She's a professor at New York University and our midwifery director, and she is from Memphis. But she left because she wasn't able to practice midwifery in Memphis. And so we recruited her to come back home. And the last person is Kiara Norman, who is our present midwifery fellow. And so this is our team, and it's been really important to us to continue to provide comprehensive reproductive health care in our community.
Can we give her her flowers? Dr. Nikia Grayson is true Black history now, today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And I feel incredibly honored to be able to live at the same time as a pioneer in our profession. I was deeply inspired by the work that Nikia is doing in Tennessee. as a midwife here in San Francisco, at the time, one of 2 Black midwives in San Francisco, with limited access to provide the kind of care that I desire in my heart and soul, and I know that our communities deserve. Someone like Nikia was just like a beaming ray of light. And I went to Tennessee and got to learn everything that she was doing. And she shared her wisdom and supported me as I tried to create that here in California. So thank you, Dr. Nikia. And so how my training came to be is a beautiful story too. The only reason I was able to get to Tennessee, because I didn't have the means and way to do so, was Dr. Monica McLemore, who's been a mentor of mine since I was a student, now and beyond. And she saw the vision and was like, let me support this happening, get you guys together. And not only that, though, she saw opportunities for me to collaborate with other stakeholders of that are interested in abortion care as well. And that's how I joined the Reproductive Health Service Corps, which is a beautiful collective of different professionals working together to expand abortion care. And through that, we got a California state grant between the 5 organizations to lead the work. The Black Midwifery Fellowship is one of the grantees, and part of that is to train and educate midwives and provide services to our most marginalized community members. And so that's all fun on paper. To get it going, it's like, wow. I also want to just praise and sing, or just pause for a moment, that some of us work in really complex medical systems, well-oiled machines, and when done right, they can do some beautiful things. And I feel like I've been really privileged to be in a space where that's happening. And so it took people like Dr. Katie Brown. It took people like Deeptu Mangesha, who oftentimes when I talk to them about this work and what we're trying to do, they're like, yeah, what can we do? How do we move? What, you know? And they see it as just barely doing anything. When, from my perspective, is you guys are in a position of power as physicians. And it means the world when you guys listen to us, Black midwives. It means the world when you guys are willing to make moves. So I just want to name that. I really appreciate our physician colleagues who have created space for us. This is myself with Dr. Karen Mextroff, who's taken time to really listen to what my perspectives are during my training. And again, we have never had a midwife train in abortion care at UCSF or at the General in this comprehensive kind of way. And I'm now stepping into the next phase, which will be to start a clinic where I get to see patients, and patients have a choice if they want to go to doctors or midwives the same way we've been doing for over 30 years with pregnancy care, right? For some reason, at some point in time, we decided that it stops with pregnancy care, depending on how that ends, which is arbitrary and silly and historically really harmful. And so it's been really beautiful to start cultivating a way that brings options for our patients, brings choices to our patients. And so I just want to read the quote I put here is, every person deserves access to midwifery-led care, regardless if they choose to continue or end their pregnancy. With that being said, in these spaces, I'm very different. I wasn't trained as a doctor, nor would I ever want to be a doctor. And I highly respect our residents to our current physicians that do extraordinary work that I could never do. And I love my lane. And I love that you guys are being open to the fact that there is a lane for us here too. And so my training has been going on, but we also kept growing and expanding this work. So the Black Midwifery Fellowship has become so much more. We provide community workshops annually. This is from last year, where we allowed folks who were interested to just join us in space and kind of demystify what abortions are. What happens when you get an IUD placed? Does it hurt? Why? What can you change? And it's not that moment when you have 15 minutes to talk to your provider about this and you feel awkward or whatever to get your questions answered. This is just a community space. There is no wrong question or answer, and it's 2 hours of just beautiful time and space for our community to become informed. So that way, when they go back into the community, they can share that awareness and build trust. We need so much more trust in our community, and we're not creating the spaces as we're growing as a profession. And so this is a beautiful privilege that we get to do annually. We also partnered with Doula for the People, an incredible doula collective in the East Bay. And they've been through subcontract with the Black Midwifery Fellowship. They created their post-abortion doula training. The curriculum was so intentionally designed with community healers. And it's just a phenomenal training. They trained 7 midwives last year, 7 doulas last year, and they plan to train 15 this year. They also provide a community workshop and where they provide awareness around womb healing and different herbs that support that recovery period as folks are transitioning postpartum, whether they had a 8-pound baby or had an abortion earlier on. And now we've been offering post-abortion doula services. So those trained midwives are able to, those trained doulas, I'm so invested in them becoming midwives, apparently. Those trained doulas are now providing services to patients in our clinical setting. So we started at the Center for Pregnancy Options. We're hoping to move to San Francisco General as well. And just providing opportunities for folks to get access to their community members while they're healing. That is community work. There's so many important services we provide very thoughtfully and regimented in a safe manner within our institutions, and they will never be what our community can do for themselves. So as we create spaces for our community to care for each other, we are working together to heal. I started a program during COVID to serve our community members here in San Francisco. And so we've also partnered with the One Love Black community to make sure these families are able to get household resources and diapers and wipes and just the community love show up at their door with all these items after they've had an abortion. We also travel to really get rooted in reproductive justice that's happening across the nation. And this is just one example of the trips we took last year where we went to Memphis and we were able to partner with Charisse, who leads Sister Reach, and she led us through a reproductive justice training. Charisse is a community member who became activated by her experiences and the experiences of those in her community, and just shares a level of wisdom that's not accessible by reading a book. And that was for me a very eye-opening and healing experience. And so hello, spring of 2025, we will officially launch our fellowship. We're really excited. Here in California, we will have a fellow who has comprehensive training in all of midwifery scope. And then we'll have a second fellow. And if our stars align, our second fellow will be who's standing right next to me, a comprehensive just abortion training. So you see their timelines next to each other about what their work will look like over the course of a year. And we're really excited to pop this off. One of the parts of the rotation for fellow number 1 will be in Black Centering, a program I created. And I'm just honored and so excited to be able to have a new midwife be able to join a practice and do the kind of care we've seen our ancestors do. And yeah, that wasn't an experience for either myself or Nikia. And so the fact that we've been able to be a part of places and services, I work for the Midwives of San Francisco General Hospital, and I feel really honored that we're able to create innovative kind of care for our communities. Of course, I can go on for hours about that, but also what this means for a new midwife coming into care and doing so intentionally. If any of you will be at NAF, we will continue this conversation there and build on what we've started here. We'd love to open it up for any questions.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back and say, first of all, this is amazing, and that what Asmara has been able to do in terms of abortion training here is amazing. Because like I said earlier, unfortunately, in our programs, we don't get this training. And so we have to find these opportunities after we've already graduated. And one of the things that's been really important to us when we started our fellowship program at Choices was to train comprehensive reproductive healthcare providers. And so when we started the program, we knew that we wouldn't be able to train midwives in our Tennessee clinic in abortion care, but we focused on early pregnancy loss and teaching them they had the opportunity, of course, to rotate through our abortion clinic, but they could not do procedural abortions or medication abortion. And so what has happened now is that with our Carbondale clinic, which is located in Illinois, midwives can provide medication and procedural abortion, but we don't have the skill set because we didn't have that opportunity when we were in school. So it's more on the job training now. And so the procedural abortions in our clinic are done by physicians. And really, we have a partnership with Vanderbilt where they bring their residents also, but it still further pushes our midwives who are already practicing with us and doing the medication abortion part of care. They don't have those opportunities. So for us, this is a great opportunity to learn with you all and with Asmara and Dr. Brown, so that we can teach that procedural part to the midwives in those regions. There are many maternity deserts or reproductive healthcare deserts in the southern states and even here in California where we really can fill in those areas of care. So yeah, I'm really honored to be able to be here and be a part of this at this time. And Asmara says she's going to open it up for questions. So we're going to take questions from anyone. No question? Zero? Okay.
That was really inspiring. Having seen it from Asmara's side a bit, to meet you. She speaks very highly of you.
She's too kind.
You said something, Asmara, about the complex systems that we work in. And I know about some of the barriers you faced as you built this fellowship. Could you reflect on maybe one barrier that you faced and then how you got past it? Because some of this, what you've accomplished is amazing. And we can sit here in the audience and go, yeah, that's really cool, but how can I do that? So please inspire us and give us some more details about, like, you find a barrier, how do you get past it?
Oh, that's a great question. I think what came to mind when you first said that is relationships. And the second piece is purpose. I feel very grounded in my purpose, understanding of who I am and what my purpose is while I'm here for this very short and limited time that we all share together on Earth, right? And so with those two pieces, and then the historical context of my time at UCSF, and some of you may know that journey has been quite a wild one. And through all those experiences, I've had to encounter different setbacks or different aha moments, and understanding of how the systems are built, and take a note, and also understand the stakeholders, and kind of just, it's like a chessboard, I'd say, and really understanding what's moving us. We have many differences. We don't agree sometimes politically. My value is important here, but maybe not in the next room or upstairs. But one thing that puts us all in these spaces is the internal purpose within each of us. And we come here because we see that there's possibility. For example, UCSF, for all its flaws, is currently a space where we're able to do things like this that can't happen anywhere else in the country. And yes, there's many flaws. Yes, there's many personalities. And at the end of the day, again, I'm only here for a short time. So are you. And so I really think it takes us really being anchored in our purpose, being observant, and building relationships with individuals that share values aligned at a very like visceral level, which is what brings us here. I think one easy way to get through that is one of the hard pieces around working at UCSF is when you come on, you have to have a diversity statement. But it really allows folks to take a moment. How many people around the country actually take a moment to understand how diverse they are, or how they contribute to diversity, or even think about diversity? And so it's just really put together a group of people from faculty to learners to trainees, and most importantly, the foundational pieces, which is all our staff. Also our interprofessional team members. And so I think with this piece, specifically in my department, shout out to Mary Beth, just a phenomenal human who is understanding what is possible and what's not possible, and having that strong foundation within her work and her ethical like alignments and values, really, and being such a great listener. Every moment along the way, she would just stop and be like, well, that can't happen that way. Have you tried this? Have you looked here? And so it just kind of became the next to-do list, right? So along the way, it was like, okay, here's the vision. And then let me try this path. And that doesn't work. No, we can't call it the Black Midwifery Fellowship. Oh, we got to talk to legal teams. Oh, okay. All along the way, there's just been like, and it's just been really fun too. I think what also puts us all here together is we're all very curious people, and curiosity takes us very far. And that has been another piece. And then I just want to name another one of my mentors who's sitting here, Kara Myers. Who's also just another very informed individual, very observant, a great listener. And she'll be like, Asmara, you could do it that way. Or you might want to try this. It depends what you're going for. So I've grown a lot from that wisdom. And I think the other piece is our physician colleagues. Every single one of them that are here that I know have really faced this from an abundance perspective, which is really important. Instead of being from a scarcity perspective, unfortunately, this profession historically has really divided us as colleagues in this work. And we're both needed, physicians and midwife. It depends whose needs are being met. But if we're really trying to meet our community needs, we deserve options. And so it's been really beautiful to work with colleagues who are like, I don't know how to do that, but if you can figure it out, sure. And working together to utilize our privilege, power, and wisdoms to create a path forward. I know that was a really long answer, but it really felt like it took all of that. Other questions? No, I probably scared you guys.
Can you talk a little bit about the like hurdle of saying like we can't call it the Black Midwifery Fellowship, and like how you continue to stand in your truth while also being in this current political climate where maybe more fear about being true and still being
Dr. Katie Brown asked if I could share a little bit more about the hurdles I encountered around calling it the Black Midwifery Fellowship, and what that means in today's political climate and moving forward. Again, life is so short and I have a purpose. And part of the work that I'm doing is, it's not just from my brain and my wisdom, like, ooh, Asmara is just this brilliant person. Let me call it the Asmara Fellowship. It's actually the only reason I'm able to do this work is because of Black midwives. And so this name is not a designation of what can or can't happen within the fellowship. It is a legacy tribute to Black midwives that have paved the way for all of us, whether we decide to acknowledge it or not. None of us would be here today in any of our paths, from trainees to our OBGYN chiefs in services. And so I think we deserve to acknowledge them. For me, it's really important, like what we speak into existence is real. And so, yes, we're going to call it the Black Midwifery Fellowship, because at the very least, at least we'll put it out there, an acknowledgement, and our ancestors can hear that. That's important to me. And so when I was granted this $3.7 million grant, that's a whole nother story of those hurdles to get there. But, and then I was granted this grant and I had to change the name. And I was like, hold on, I didn't write this and do all that work, because that's a lot of work to get to that point, to then change the name. And I was steadfast, like, if I can't change the name, I want to give that money back. And again, that's when we're grounded in purpose, it's scary, but fear is as much as we let it be. What's also possible to be true is that we're courageous a little bit here and there, little moments, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. That was a couple weeks, but I just really believed in the people that were above me, and I knew their hearts, and I knew I was being listened to. I just had to be able to learn how to communicate it in a way that wasn't alienating, as it was seen by the university that such a name could be. And so I did. I got curious. I learned our laws. I learned where the university's fear lied with the name Black. Happy Black History Month, day, year. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And I was like, there was the recent banning of affirmative action across the country, but California has had that in place for a long time. Why are we scared? We know how to navigate the terrain. And so I just kind of created a timeline with the laws that exist. And I met with the legal team and I gave them a presentation and they were like, we agree. So really what it was crossing the T's and dotting the I's, because what is going to come is potentially a lawsuit, right? Which will impact our whole division. And that's putting a lot of people at risk. So it requires us crossing our T's and dotting our I's, which is what our institution wanted for me to do. Originally, there was fear. I was met with fear. And had I been scared too, I would have just stopped right there and been like, oh, I can't do it. But again, being driven by purpose and knowing the team that I work within, I knew there was room to explore that. And I was committed. I wasn't on the fence. It was either like this happens or it just doesn't. Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that we don't have those same issues at Choices. We move how we want to, but when you're in a larger institution like that, I think that, being grounded in what it is that you're committed to is so important. And I think that also for, we called ours, of course, a Black Midwifery Fellowship also. So we have these Black Midwifery Fellowship, Tennessee and California. I think that for us, it was paying honor to those who came before us, but also it was so important to acknowledge that we have been erased from history and that we had it was so few of us in the country. I mean, presently it's only about 1,100 nurse midwives who identify as Black. And so to go from being, you know, a prolific number to 1,100, we wanted to be very intentional, but we also wanted to say, we're not going to allow you, we're not going to comply even when it's not necessary. We're seeing so many fold and it's not necessary. And so I think that is, you know, what Asmara did, what we're doing. And like I said, we don't have those same legal barriers that you all have in terms of, or that UCSF, I say you all, I'm part of UCSF too, that we all have here. But I think that it's so important for us to stand firm in what it is that we believe. And like Asmara said, I mean, she inspires me. Just hearing her say all of that inspired me to keep moving forward, especially with all the barriers that we have in the southern states. It's very different for us than it is for you all here. And many days I've talked about, okay, it's time for me to go home and, you know, not do this anymore. And then after I talked to Asmara, and she was like, no, we're committed to this. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can go a little further. You know, I mean, her energy and her commitment and her values are unwavering. And so that is inspiring in itself, honestly. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Patrick, is it good? Well, thank you all for listening to us. Thank you for partnering with us. Thank you for your commitment to helping us grow as providers and to really grow this skill set so that we can then go on to teach others. We're in a really critical point in time in our history. And like I said, living in the South, living in Memphis, I have a very different bird's eye view than you all have around abortion access. And many days it is very disheartening, and when we really want to some days give up. But I'm reminded that there are spaces that like this here, and people like Asmara that I get to work with daily, and that keeps us going. So yeah, thank you. Want to say anything? No?
Thank you.